Why are you not getting results? Or why are you not getting the results that you probably want? It's more than likely because you're unfocused, old-fashioned, and confused. That's the hard truth. Look, it's likely that you're one, two, or three of these things. Yeah, I'll be interested at the end when I've explained them a little bit more, whether you say, yeah, actually it's one, it's two, or yeah, strike out, Fred. It's not like you do this stuff on purpose. Of course it's not. But again, what I see is that people, they kind of fall into bad habits. They sort of let things slip a little bit. And before they realize what they're doing is they're really not working in the best possible way that they could be doing to get the results that they want. You're listening to the Sales Today podcast, and I'm your host, Fred Copestake. On this podcast, we explore how sales professionals can develop a modern approach to winning business, the application of virtual selling techniques, how to create meaningful business relationships, and much more. Why not take our free collaborative selling scorecard to see how your sales approach suits today's environment? You'll find a link in the show notes. I want to give plenty of food for thought. So how are we going to do this? Three main areas. Again, keep stuff nice and simple. First bit, we're going to talk about how you are effective or not, because this is the stuff, if we don't get it right, it's going to cause people stress. We do not want to be stressed. Second part, we'll be talking about getting up to date. What I'm finding is if we're not doing the right things now, it's not only not working, but we're actually driving customers away. Not good. And then the last part, we're talking about getting more aligned in what we're doing. To say the whole situation now is a little bit confusing, might be a bit of an understatement. So let's just think about, how we can be aligned to doing the stuff that really works. I'll share some scenarios and I'll give you some steps in how you can get right up to date with modern selling. So who am I? So yeah, my name is Fred Copestake. I've had quite a career in sales. I mean, over the last 22 years, I've been around the world 14 times, worked in 36 different countries and trained over 10,000 salespeople. That has been a real privilege, a lot of fun. But what it's also allowed me to do is to start to identify some of the challenges that salespeople have. As a result of that, it put me in the position where I could write my first book, Selling Through Partnering Skills, which helps address some of these similar mistakes, some of these bad habits that salespeople have fallen into. One of the things I could see is that sales is really evolving faster than some of us think. And so salespeople need to make the shift, need to sort of close that gap between what customers need us to do and what we're actually doing. And that gap's growing. This was published in 2020, same time as you know what. And so I saw these changes and these gaps starting to grow even further. The adaptations salespeople need to make to keep bang up to date are getting even bigger. That's why I wrote my second book. There are people about helping salespeople stay relevant. And I'm very pleased to say that went to #1 on Amazon. So I'm going to be channeling some of the things out of that into what I'm talking about today. In a nutshell, if you wanted the 10-second version of what I'm about, it's all about having good people doing good things in a good way. That's how you could kind of summarize me in one line. Can I be blunt and honest with you as we go through this? Can I be blunt and honest? Why are you not getting results? Or why are you not getting the results that you probably want? It's more than likely because you're unfocused, old-fashioned, and confused. That's the hard truth. Look, it's likely that you're one, two, or three of these things. Yeah, I'll be interested at the end when I've explained them a little bit more, whether you say, yeah, actually it's one, it's two, or yeah, strike out, Fred. It's not like you do this stuff on purpose. Of course it's not. But again, what I see is that people, they kind of fall into bad habits. They sort of let things slip a little bit. And before they realize what they're doing is they're really not working in the best possible way that they could be doing to get the results that they want. And certainly when we're under a bit of stress, when we're under difficult times, like we are now, we're under pressure, the brain starts to do weird things. We can't think right. We go into that freeze, fight, flight mode where we can't think properly, and we kind of end up throwing good effort after bad effort. And so we're not making the difference that we want to. Again, my job is to help flag up some of these things that you might catch yourself doing. It can be a little bit uncomfortable, but when you know, you can do something about it. So we'll move on. In part one, what I'm going to talk about is busy, busy, busy. So I give little labels to these three main challenges that I see. And the first one is busy, 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 which is all about being ineffective. So this is where we've got salespeople who are running around doing lots and lots of stuff. So they're quite active, they're quite busy, as the name suggests. But what they're doing isn't really working. It's not effective. It becomes quite wasteful because as we don't achieve things, we throw good effort after bad. And so we end up messing up opportunities. This gets quite tiring. This gets quite stressful. It's because of this lack of focus. So one of the companies that I've worked with and done a lot with over the last couple of years is Renault Trucks. And these are some guys that I've managed to help in how they think to get way more effective in what they do. Rather than dashing around chasing lots and lots of business, they're now in a place where they're focusing on the more profitable, winnable deals, bigger deals, better use of time. So again, it's this effective use of our resources. That's what we need to be doing. So way to do that is to think about prepare, plan, and use process. Better preparation, better time spent thinking about the customers that we want to work with, how we can work with them, where we can add value. Sometimes I see sales teams where it's all about action, all about activity, running around, and people are seen thinking, calming down, slowing what they're doing. It's almost like they're not working properly. Massive mistake, because we know if we do good thinking, we can then pass this on in the insights, in the ways in which we can work with customers. Good salespeople will also plan way better. They'll balance their work. They'll reduce the stress by knowing that actually we can focus on the things which are urgent and important, and we have structures and ways of working that are going to make a difference. So they're quite comfortable using process. They're not trying to wing it every time, making stuff up as they go along. They know that they've got a good, solid, tried and tested way to work. That will start to make a difference. So that was quite a lot of the stuff I've done with the Renault guys. But one of the big pieces that we can help with is how we get the right mindset to work collaboratively. So here, this is all about something that's called PQ. So again, let me just ask you to put in chat, either just a yes or no, Y or N. Have you come across the concept of PQ? You may well have come across IQ and EQ, your intelligence, your emotional intelligence. Yeah, many people won't have. So I hadn't until probably about 5-6 years ago. And I came across some work with a guy called Steve Dent. So Steve Dent's an expert in partnering skills. That's what PQ is about. P for partnering, Owen. Yeah, we want to think like a partner. Now, whether you are selling in channel and you are technically partners, or you're a direct sale, it's this mindset that when you think like a partner, that's when you can become more collaborative. And so I looked at his work and where he'd identified these 6 elements of PQ, which has since been validated, verified. And I was looking at these and thinking, these will go into any sort of sale. If you bake these into the way that you think, the way that you act, you will become a better salesperson, more modern, more collaborative. And so they're the core of what I wrote in the first book. I'm going to quickly go through these 6 elements. Again, I want you to think about as I'm doing it, are these things that you're doing? Are they things that you can do better? What I'm going to do is I'm actually going to flag up some little mistakes, because I'm sure that you will recognize these and think, yeah, I get it. But are you really using the idea as well as you possibly can? We want to squeeze every bit of benefit out of this positive partnering thinking. So the first element is trust. Yeah, for me, I always start when I'm talking about this, talk about PQ with trust. It's the foundation of relationships. It's good communication. We need to build this into the way that we sell. So the mistake is actually to work with this meet like no trust mentality. And I know a lot of people think, oh, Fred, hold on, network is based on that. That's great sales. And so I'm not going to disagree with that. But what I do disagree with is that when people think that these things you do to people, certainly the trust element, you don't do trust to somebody. You build trust with somebody. You build it because how you do things. And so the biggest key to this, we could have a full session just on trust, but the biggest key to this is that when you're doing something, you're doing it with their best interests at heart. You're not trying to do trust building stuff because then they're going to buy a load of stuff from you. It's that I'm doing it because it's best for them. Some people talk about sell to serve, and I quite like that. And that's what we're trying to do. We're going to build trust by the way in which we act, in how we sell, how we go about stuff. The second element we can start to think about is having a win-win orientation, win-win focus. Again, we've talked about this stuff in sales for a long time. And yeah, I think actually salespeople are probably quite good at understanding the other person's win, the other party's win. What are they trying to achieve? I think where we can sometimes get better is that we forget to share our own. We forget to talk to customers about, well, actually, this is what makes it a good deal for me. This is what I need to get from it. This is what makes sense for us to be working together. So having grown-up discussions and talking about what looks good for us makes a lot of sense. We probably need to be bringing that more into the way that we operate. Third element of PQ is being comfortable with interdependence. I'm sure we've all met the lone wolf salesperson, the one that goes off out there doing their own thing. Yeah, they're kind of, no one really knows what they're doing. They might be quite successful, but they're trying to do everything on their own. And nowadays, it's just not the best way of operating. There's actually a bunch of research behind this with CEB, with Challenger. So the way in which I'd sort of kind of alleviate, take away this mistake, is that it's to get salespeople thinking about, my success is your success. My success as a salesperson is your success as a customer. If we can do that, then we can be way better in the way we approach selling today. I'd also say that we could use our own teams a lot better more often than not, and get the partner engaging their teams better as well. So becoming someone who can kind of facilitate, get as many people solving the problem, working together, is a good modern way of working. Fourth element of PQ, Steve Dent talks about self-disclosure and feedback. Now, I would now tend to probably talk about transparency. I think probably that expression is a bit more popular. And so again, the mistake I see here is that we expect the customer to be a mind reader. We expect them to know what we're thinking, know what we're feeling, know what's good for us. I've said that already. And the other thing is that we don't tell them about them. We don't often give customers feedback. So yeah, what we need to be doing is talking about our own needs, feelings, etc. But equally, we need to be saying to customers, if they haven't done their side of the deal, if they said they're going to do certain stuff, if we're going to work on something together and that's not happening, we've got to feed that back. We've got to talk about it. I know some salespeople can get a little bit uncomfortable with that idea. Oh, no, you can't say that to the customer. Oh, no. No, that is part and parcel of modern selling. Do need to push back. We do need to keep up this grown up, this dialogue. Thinking about the fifth element, we could talk about comfort with change. Now, I could get on a soapbox with any of these things, but this is one that I do get quite excited about at the moment. In that, as salespeople, we are change agents. We are trying to get people to do different things, do things in a different way. If we're not comfortable with that, what right have we got in speaking to people about it? If we don't understand it, we can also make big mistakes, because what can happen is that we can be all excited about change. We can see the benefits. We know what somebody's going to get from something. But if you think of how people respond to change, they could be in that kind of denial phase, or quite angry about the fact, or just trying to make sense of it. And often this mismatched communication is where sales can go a little bit wrong. So we need to just think about how we're communicating it and make sure we challenge the status quo. Yeah, more deals than ever being lost to do nothing. So again, we need to think about how can we message and get the points across as to why the customer should be doing something. So the sixth elements of PQ is about future orientation. So again, this is all about looking forward, making decisions on what we're trying to achieve together, the vision, the mission, the goals, the targets, decisions based on that journey. Rather than always looking backwards, always thinking about, oh yeah, well, that's what happened in the past and that didn't necessarily work. I'm not saying we don't learn from it, but by creating that future, that better way, will serve us way better in what we do. 6 elements of PQ, 6 skills that we can learn, skills which we can develop, skills which we can bake into the way in which we're selling. As I say, that's what we're doing with Renault. That's what I am doing with Renault. They're winning bigger and better business. And for these guys, they won't mind me saying this, this is absolutely how they're going to operate in the future, because as we move towards electric vehicles and we have to have different types of conversations, they are set up for being able to do that way more effectively. They're going to have to guide customers more than ever. No room for order takers anymore in that world. And that's what this PQ thinking plus all the planning and good process work we've done is setting them up for success. So we need to move salespeople from that busy, horrible, wasteful, tiring, unfocused approach. They're using old-fashioned techniques. They're doing the things which push customers away from them. And we need to give them the ability to stop being so confused about what they're actually trying to do and sell. We can do this. So we can move them to where they're helping people because they're preparing, they're planning, they're using good process, they're being more effective. They can flip, follow, and focus, yes, because what they're doing is they're thinking about the customer and they're doing stuff based on genuine customer centricity. And then what we can do is we can give them that clarity in the way that they work. Managers can coach them. The salesperson is dead sure about how it is they need to work. Going back to what I set out at the beginning, for me, that's about having good people doing good things in a good way. Thank you for listening to the Sales Today podcast with me, your host, Fred Copestake. I hope you've enjoyed what you heard today. If you did, please get in touch and hit subscribe. And remember, you can take the Collaborative Selling Scorecard for free to check out how your sales approach works in today's environment. You'll find it in the show notes.